Hello, everyone. Welcome to Say It.
Hey everyone, so happy you are here with us today. I am Mike.
And I am Sarah. Really happy you are with us today.
Sarah, be honest, have you done everything on your to-do list this week?
Absolutely not.
Neither have I. I still have 3 things for Monday.
I haven't even looked at mine yet.
And I have already moved 2 things to next week.
And there they are, right there in that conversation.
What do you mean?
Still, yet, already. You used still, I used yet, you used already. 3 words, 10 seconds, and every single one doing something completely different.
I did not even notice.
Nobody does. That is the whole point. These 3 words are so automatic, learners use them every day, but almost nobody can explain what makes each one different from the others.
And getting them wrong, does it really matter?
It matters more than people think because each one carries a completely different feeling, a different expectation, and swapping one for another does not just sound slightly off. Sometimes it changes the meaning entirely.
Then we had better sort that out today.
We had better. But first, please like and subscribe to Say It. Every new like and subscriber motivates us to prepare more episodes for you.
Now let's get into it.
So, still, yet, already. 3 words that every learner knows, uses every day. But here is what most people miss.
Which is?
These are not just time words. They are expectation words.
What is the difference?
A time word tells you when something happened. These 3 do something more. They tell you how you feel about when it happened, whether it happened sooner than you expected, later than you expected, or whether it is still going, longer than you expected.
So the feeling is built into the word itself.
Always. Think of it like a clock. You have an expectation, something in your head about when something should happen. And these 3 words tell the listener where reality is relative to that expectation.
Still, reality has not moved. The clock is still running.
Exactly. Something has not stopped, has not changed, is still going, and often it has been going longer than expected.
Still, the clock has not reached the moment yet.
Something expected has not happened. We are waiting, but we believe it will come.
And already, the clock moved faster than expected.
Something happened sooner than anticipated, earlier than the speaker thought it would. That surprise, pleasant or otherwise, is inside the word.
So when you said, I still have 3 things from Monday,
the clock is still running on those tasks. They have not stopped. They are carrying on, longer than they probably should.
and when you said, I haven't even looked at mine yet,
The clock has not reached the moment. Something expected, looking at the list, has not happened, but it will. The expectation is still there.
and I already moved 2 things to next week, that happened sooner than expected. I rescheduled before the week was even half done.
And now, looking at those 3 sentences again, you cannot swap the words because each one is saying something completely different about time and expectation.
Still means it is ongoing. Yet means it is expected but missing. Already means it is done surprisingly early.
1 clock, 3 different readings, and that is the frame for everything we are going to teach today.
So let us start with the first one.
Still, and still is the most interesting of the 3 because it is the most flexible.
What do you mean by flexible?
Every other adverb in English tends to learn in 1 or 2 tenses. Still goes everywhere. Present, past, future, perfect, modal, everywhere.
Show me.
She still works here. Present simple, the situation is continuing right now.
They are still living next door. Present continuous, still in progress.
When I went to bed, she was still working. Past, it was continuing at that moment in the past.
I still haven't found my passport. Present perfect, still continuing up to now.
We will still be on holiday when you return. Future, it will still be continuing then.
She might still be at work. Modal, still possible, still continuing.
Same word, every tense. The clock is still running whenever that clock is set.
And the core meaning stays the same throughout.
Always. Something has not stopped, has not changed. The situation is continuing. But, and this is where still gets interesting, it often carries something extra.
Which is?
A sense that perhaps it should have stopped by now, that the clock has been running longer than expected. You are still here? I thought you left hours ago. She is still studying. It is midnight. He still smokes, even after the doctor told him to stop.
So still can carry mild surprise or impatience.
Exactly. The situation is continuing, and the speaker was not expecting it to last this long.
And in negative sentences, that feeling gets stronger.
Much stronger. This is the most emotionally charged use of still.
She still hasn't called. He still hasn't paid me back. I have asked 3 times and you still haven't done it.
There is judgment in there.
There is. Something should have happened by now, and it hasn't. That gap between expectation and reality still puts it right in the listener's face.
And the position? Where does still go in a sentence?
Mid-position, always. Before the main verb, she still works. After be, when it is the only verb, I am still tired. Between the auxiliary and the main verb, she is still studying.
And in negative sentences?
This is the critical rule. Still goes before the negative auxiliary. She still hasn't called, not she hasn't still called. I still can't find it, not I can't still find it. Still always comes first, before the negative.
Still before the negative, always.
Always. Now, still has a couple of other lives that are worth knowing. When you're in a restaurant and the waiter asks still or sparkling, that is still as an adjective, meaning non-carbonated, motionless, calm.
And still life in art.
Exactly. A painting of inanimate objects, fruits, flowers, objects on a table. Still life. The same word, completely different meaning, nothing to do with time or expectation.
And I have seen still used at the beginning of a sentence, meaning nevertheless.
Yes, it was raining. Still, we decided to go. He has many faults. Still, I like him. In that use, still is not about continuation at all. It introduces a contrast, a concession, something true despite what came before. You will see it in writing and in more formal speech quite often.
So still, the continuation word, the expectation word, the adjective, and the connector.
One small word, a lot of work, and we are just getting started.
The second reading on the clock, yet.
And yet feels different from still, from the very first sentence.
Completely different. Still says something is continuing, yet says something expected has not arrived. The clock has not reached the moment, but we believe it will.
I haven't eaten yet. I haven't called her yet. The results haven't arrived yet.
Every one of those, an expectation sitting in the future, something that should happen, that will happen, just not yet.
And yet almost always goes at the end of the sentence.
End position is the natural home for yet. I haven't done it yet. Has the package arrived yet? She hasn't replied yet. The expectation lands at the end where the listener feels the weight of the waiting.
And in questions, yet asks whether the expected thing has finally happened.
Have you finished yet? Has the train arrived yet? Have you told her yet? The question is not just asking for information, it is checking on something both people were expecting.
Are we there yet?
The most famous yet question in the English language. Every child on every long car journey.
And not yet as a response on its own.
One of the most useful short answers in spoken English.
Have you eaten?
Not yet.
Is she here?
Not yet.
Not yet keeps the door open. It says it hasn't happened, but it will. Compare that with just saying no, which closes the conversation completely.
Not yet, open. No, closed. Every time. Now, British and American English handle yet differently, and this is worth knowing.
What is the difference?
In British English, present perfect is the natural choice with yet. Have you eaten yet? Has the train arrived yet? In American English, past simple is also very common. Did you eat yet? Did the train arrive yet?
Both are correct?
Both are correct, just different varieties. If you are not sure which to use, present perfect is always safe in any variety of English.
And yet has a more formal side as well.
Have or has yet to, plus the base verb. We have yet to find a solution. The investigation has yet to begin. The best is yet to come.
That last one, everyone knows it, but I never connected it to this structure.
Most people don't. Have yet to means still haven't. The best is yet to come means the best still hasn't happened. It is still ahead. And learners sometimes misread this structure. They see have yet to and think it means something has happened. It means the opposite.
Have yet to, still haven't, not have now done.
Exactly. Now, yet has a use that surprises almost every learner.
Which one?
Yet another, yet again, yet more. When yet appears before another or again or more, it stops being about expectation entirely. It becomes an emphasizer, and almost always an exasperated one.
Yet another delay.
One more in a long and frustrating series. The printer is broken yet again. Better yet, let us just cancel the whole thing.
Better yet, that is a different feeling, more like an even better alternative.
Exactly. Better yet suggests something superior to what was just proposed, a completely different flavor from yet another, which is pure frustration.
And yet has one more life as a conjunction.
As a conjunction, yet means but or however. He tried hard, yet he failed. She's young, yet very wise. It was cold, yet we went swimming.
That sounds more formal, more literary.
It does. You'll see it far more in writing than in speech, but learners encounter it constantly, in news articles, in books, in subtitles, and not recognizing it as a conjunction causes a lot of confusion.
So, yet, the expectation word, the question word, the formal structure, the emphasizer, and the conjunction.
5 lives, 1 word, and each one doing something the others cannot. Now, the third reading on the clock, already.
And already feels completely different from the other two.
Because it is pointing in a different direction. Still says something has not stopped. Yet says something has not arrived. Already says it arrived, earlier than expected.
The surprise is built in.
Always, pleasant or otherwise, already carries the feeling that something happened sooner than the speaker anticipated. I have already eaten. She has already left. He already knows about the surprise party, found out before anyone told him. It is only 6 o'clock and it is already dark.
That last one, it is only 6 o'clock and it is already dark. The surprise is at how fast time moved.
Exactly. Already is often about time moving faster than expected. The day goes quickly. The meeting ends early. Someone finishes before you thought they would.
And in questions, already asks whether something happened sooner than expected.
Yes, but the feeling changes. Have you already finished? Is it already dark? It is only 6 o'clock. Are you already leaving? The question is not just asking for information, it is expressing genuine surprise that something happened this quickly.
And already goes in mid-position, between the auxiliary and the main verb.
Standard position. I have already eaten. She has already left. He already knows. Between have and eaten. Between has and left. Before the main verb when there is no auxiliary.
And it can move to the end as well.
It can. And when it does, the meaning shifts. Mid-position, I have already eaten, is neutral, informational. End position, I have eaten already, is slightly more emphatic, more conversational.
And already at the very end, in commands and exclamations, that is something else entirely.
This is the one that surprises learners most. Enough already. Can we go already? I know already. Just do it already.
Every one of those. Impatience, exasperation.
Strong impatience. Enough already means stop. I have had enough. Can we go already means I am tired of waiting. I know already means you have told me. Stop repeating it.
And learners know these expressions. They have heard them in films, in American English especially.
Constantly. But most learners never connect them to already. They treat them as fixed phrases without realizing it is the same word doing the same thing, saying, this has gone on long enough. It should have stopped already.
The clock moved too far.
Too far in the wrong direction. And already works as a standalone response as well.
The meeting is over.
Already? That was fast.
Is it midnight already?
Where did the evening go? One word carrying all the surprise of something happening sooner than expected.
And British and American English again.
Same pattern as yet. British English, present perfect. I have already eaten. American English, past simple, also common. I already ate. Both correct. Present perfect, always safe.
Still, the clock still running. Yet, the clock waiting. Already, the clock moving faster than expected.
3 readings, and now the most important question.
Which is?
What happens when still and yet are doing the same job in the same kind of sentence but feeling completely different? This, she hasn't called yet.
Okay.
She still hasn't called.
Those mean the same thing, don't they?
Same situation, completely different feeling.
What is the difference?
She hasn't called yet is neutral. Simply states that something expected has not happened. The clock has not reached the moment. We are waiting. No particular emotion behind it.
And she still hasn't called?
The clock has been running too long. There is frustration in there, surprise, perhaps judgment. She should have called by now, and she hasn't. The gap between expectation and reality still makes you feel it.
So yet reports and still reacts.
That is exactly it. Yet is informational. Still is emotional.
More examples.
I haven't done it yet.
Neutral. I am getting to it. No particular weight.
I still haven't done it.
Heavier, more loaded, maybe self-critical. Maybe the listener is judging.
He hasn't paid me back yet.
Neutral expectation. He will, presumably.
He still hasn't paid me back.
Frustration. How long is this going to take?
They haven't arrived yet.
We are waiting. Normal.
They still haven't arrived.
Mild impatience. It is taking longer than it should.
Same situation every time. One word choice and the emotional weight of the sentence changes completely.
And the position reinforces it.
Always. Yet sits at the end. Quiet, neutral, natural. Still sits before the negative auxiliary. Fronted, emphatic, impossible to miss. The position itself is doing emotional work.
She hasn't called yet. Yet at the end. Easy, neutral.
She still hasn't called. Still pushed forward, before the negative. The frustration is right there at the front of the sentence.
So when you choose still in a negative sentence, you are not just choosing a word, you are choosing a tone.
Exactly. And that choice matters. If you say, he still hasn't replied, to someone who does not know the context, they will immediately feel that you are frustrated or that you think he should have replied by now. The emotional reading is automatic.
Still is safer than if you want to stay neutral.
Much safer. If you are not sure how much emotion you want to carry, use yet. It simply states the fact. Still always adds color.
And one more thing. Using both together.
Never. I still haven't done it yet. Redundant. Both words are doing the same job in a negative sentence. Choose one. I still haven't done it. Or, I haven't done it yet. Never both in the same sentence.
And the opposite of still, when something was continuing but has now stopped.
No longer, or not anymore. She no longer works there. Formal, mid-position, more common in writing. She doesn't work there anymore. Informal, end position, natural in conversation.
No longer for writing, not anymore for speaking.
And both say the same thing. The clock that was running has finally stopped. The opposite of still. The situation is over.
Still, the clock running, no longer the clock stopped. And between all of this, 3 words that each have a very specific place in a sentence.
Position matters enormously with these 3. Put any one of them in the wrong place and the sentence either sounds unnatural or means something completely different.
Starting with still,
Still lives in the middle, always. Before the main verb, she still works here. After be, when it is the only verb, I am still tired, he is still asleep. Between the auxiliary and the main verb, she is still studying, I am still waiting.
And in negatives before the negative auxiliary.
Always before, she still hasn't called, not she hasn't still called. I still can't find it, not I can't still find it. Still pushes forward, it never sits between the negative and the main verb.
And yet?
Yet lives at the end. Have you eaten yet? She hasn't called me yet. I haven't done it yet. The expectation lands at the end of the sentence where the listener feels the weight of the waiting.
But yet can move forward as well.
In formal English, yes, I haven't yet decided. We have not yet reached a conclusion. Mid-position before the main verb. Less common, more formal, more likely in writing than in speech. But if you hear it, that is what it is.
And never at the beginning, as an adverb.
Never. Yet I haven't finished. Wrong. That would be the conjunction yet, meaning but. As an adverb, yet always goes in the middle or at the end, never the front.
And already?
Already lives in the middle as well, between the auxiliary and the main verb. I have already eaten. She has already left. He already knows. Already and still share the same natural home, mid-position.
But already can move to the end.
And when it does, the feeling changes. I have already eaten. Mid-position, neutral, informational. I have eaten already. End position, slightly more emphatic, more conversational. And in commands and exclamations, end position gives already its full impatient force. Enough already. Can we go already? Just decide already.
So the summary.
Still lives in the middle and pushes before the negative. Yet lives at the end and occasionally moves to a formal mid-position. Already lives in the middle, but travels to the end when it has something stronger to say.
These 3 position rules are what you need, and once they are inside you, you will stop second-guessing where to put the word. It will just feel right.
But before it feels right, let us look at the moments where it tends to go wrong. 4 mistakes, the ones we see most often, fast and clean.
First one.
I have yet completed my homework.
Yet in an affirmative sentence.
Yet belongs in negatives and questions, not standard affirmative sentences. I have yet completed, wrong. I have already completed, correct. Or, I haven't completed it yet, correct.
The only affirmative exception being have yet to.
Exactly. I have yet to complete my homework, formal, correct. Meaning, I still haven't done it. But I have yet completed, that does not exist.
Mistake number 2.
She hasn't still called.
Wrong position of still in a negative sentence.
Still goes before the negative auxiliary, always. She still hasn't called, correct. She hasn't still called, wrong. The moment you put still after the negative, it sounds completely unnatural to a native speaker.
Still before the negative, every single time.
Every single time. Mistake number 3.
I haven't already eaten.
Already in a negative sentence. Already belongs in affirmatives. I have already eaten. In negatives, yet is the word. I haven't eaten yet. Already and haven't do not belong together in a standard sentence.
Already for what happened, yet for what hasn't.
Always. And the 4th mistake, and perhaps the most common of all.
Which one?
I still haven't done it yet.
Using both together.
Both in the same negative sentence, redundant. Still and yet are doing the same job there. Choose one. I still haven't done it, if you want the emotional weight. I haven't done it yet, if you want to stay neutral. One or the other, never both.
4 mistakes, 4 fixes.
Yet in affirmatives, wrong. Already or haven't yet, right.
Still after the negative auxiliary, wrong. Still before it, always.
Already with haven't, wrong. Yet in negatives, right.
Still and yet together in one negative sentence, redundant. One or the other, always.
4 mistakes, and every single one completely fixable. Once you know the clock and you know where each word lives, the mistakes stop making sense. Now, let us hear all three words working together in a real conversation.
The scenario: two colleagues. They are organizing a leaving party for a colleague who is moving to a different office. The party is in 2 days, and almost nothing is ready.
Let's start. Right, so where are we with everything? Has anyone confirmed the venue yet?
Not yet. I sent an email yesterday, but they still haven't replied.
It has been a whole day. They still haven't replied?
I know. I will call them this afternoon.
And the catering, I spoke to the restaurant this morning, actually. They have already confirmed we are good on food.
Already? That was fast. I thought you only contacted them yesterday.
I did. They came back within an hour, so that is done.
Okay. What about the invitations? Have you sent those yet?
Not yet. I still need to finalize the list. Some people have already replied saying they can come, but I haven't heard from everyone yet.
And David, is he still in the dark about all of this?
As far as I know, his assistant still hasn't said anything to him. I just hope it stays that way.
Yet another thing to worry about.
Exactly. And what about the leaving gift? Has the collection started yet?
It has, actually. We've already raised enough for something really nice. People were generous.
Already? With 2 days to go?
I know. I was surprised too. Oh, and one more thing. James doesn't work in that building anymore, so we need to make sure we tell him the new address.
Good point. I still haven't added him to the group chat. I will do it now.
Can we just decide on the decoration already? We've been going back and forth on this for a week.
Fine. Simple. Done. Let us pause there.
Did you notice how naturally still, yet, already kept appearing throughout that conversation?
Let us pick out a few. You said they still haven't replied.
Still, in a negative sentence. The clock has been running too long. Frustration. They should have replied by now.
And I said they have already confirmed.
Already. The clock moved faster than expected. Surprised that something happened so quickly.
And have you sent those yet?
Yet, in a question, checking whether something expected has happened. Neutral, just asking.
And not yet as a standalone response. The door stays open. It will happen, just not yet.
And yet another thing to worry about.
Yet as an emphasizer, one more, in a long and frustrating series. Nothing to do with expectation, pure exasperation.
And can we just decide already?
Already at the end. Impatience. The situation has gone on long enough. Just do it already.
And that last line, can we just decide already? That was the most natural moment in the whole conversation.
Because impatience is always natural. Nobody plans to be impatient. It just comes out.
Which is exactly the point. Still, yet, already. You do not reach for them, they reach for you. The feeling comes first, and the word follows.
Let us lock it all in.
3 words, 1 clock, and a logic that changes everything.
Still, yet, already. Not just time words, expectation words. Every one of them tells the listener how you feel about what has or has not happened.
Still, the clock is still running. Something has not stopped, has not changed, continues up to now, and often longer than expected. Mid-position always, before the negative auxiliary in negative sentences.
And still goes everywhere. Present, past, future, perfect, modal. The most tense flexible of the 3. Still also means motionless, still water on a menu, still life in art. And at the start of a sentence, still can mean nevertheless. It was raining, still we went ahead.
Still, the clock has not reached the moment. Something expected has not happened. End position as standard. Never in a standard affirmative sentence. That is already's job. Not yet as a standalone response keeps the door open. Have yet to means still haven't. Formal, often misread.
Yet another and yet again, emphasis and exasperation. One more in a long series. And yet as a conjunction, meaning but. He tried hard, yet he failed. More formal, more common in writing.
Already, the clock moved faster than expected. Mid position standard, end position for emphasis, and for impatience. Enough already. I know already. Can we go already? And already alone as a response. Already? That was fast.
Still versus yet in negative sentences, the most important nuance in this episode. She hasn't called yet. Neutral, informational. She still hasn't called emotional, loaded. The gap between expectation and reality right there in the word. Yet reports, still reacts.
No longer and not anymore. The opposite of still. The clock that was running has finally stopped. No longer for formal writing, not anymore for natural conversation.
And never still and yet together in the same negative sentence. I still haven't done it yet. Redundant. Choose one. Always.
Now, your challenge.
We want 3 sentences from you. One with still, one with yet, one with already. About your week, your real life. What is still happening, what hasn't happened yet, and what has already surprised you by happening sooner than you expected.
Write them in the comments. We read every single one, and honestly, after this episode, we are expecting some very good sentences.
We are. And if this episode helped you, please share it with one person who is learning English right now. It makes a bigger difference than you think.
And if you are not subscribed to Say It yet,
please subscribe. We put everything into every single episode, and we do not want you to miss what is coming next.
Next episode, much, many, and a lot of. 3 words that seem simple, and yet almost everyone is choosing the wrong one at the wrong moment.
More often than you think. We will see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.